Hare Krishna, welcome everyone for this 7-day session on Mahabharat, the psychology of the characters in the Mahabharat. It's very interesting. Last month I was reading something, and one saintly personality in Maharashtra, Ramdas Swami, he wrote one nice poem. Therein he says that one should be absorbed spiritually, alert politically, and sensitive socially. So you can't be a complete personality unless there is a combination of these three. Because absorption is a natural character of living entity who is obsessed. And that's what we are taking Dhritarashtra today. Dhritarashtra's character is synonymous to I own everything. When the battle of Mahabharata was almost over and Bhima had completed his century by killing Duryodhana, and eventually they came to meet. Very interesting in the Mahabharat culture. You can never imagine that. But here, Pandavas, after winning the war, they are coming to the parents of the enemies. And they are not coming there to slaughter them, brutally kill them, destroy everything what they have. They are coming to beg forgiveness and express their feelings also. So they all come there. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they are tormented. It is but natural to go through what they were going through. However bad one may be, their pain was genuine. However cruel one may be, when somebody loses their family members, they feel sorry, they feel pain. So Krishna and Yudhishthira Maharaj were well aware of that. So they came to pacify Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. So what happened was, Gandhari, our Dhritarashtra, he wanted to meet Bhima. He said, I want to meet him, I want to embrace him, I want to hug him. So Bhima is basically very innocent. And therefore when the innocent people are cheated, they become very angry also. Because we are studying the characteristics, we learn many psychological aspects of every character. So Bhima innocently went ahead, without feeling anything about what Dhritarashtra is going to do, and Krishna pulled him behind. He said, wait. He didn't speak, he just pulled him behind. And there was a statue of Bhima, which Duryodhana is to practice regularly, and Krishna pushed that statue. And what did Dhritarashtra do? Dhritarashtra embraced that statue. He embraced more, started hugging tightly, and within no time that statue was crushed to powder. Bhima was shocked. And then Dhritarashtra started feeling, I did something very wrong. What did I do? I killed Bhima. And Krishna said, you can't kill. He said, I know very well. Basically, nobody observed anger, revenge beneath the pain. What everybody saw was the pain, but nobody noticed, great anger and revenge within the heart of Dhritarashtra. Krishna could notice that. Very interesting. The Mahabharata does not tell us that one should be completely free from all faults. That is not possible for the living entity. Embodied living entity cannot be free from all the faults. Dosha Rahit, without fault, is the character of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what is the greatest strength? The greatest strength of the living entity is to express what is there. Instead, bring something out. So Krishna noticed that, and he protected Bhima, and Krishna chastised Dhritarashtra. He said, I can understand your anger, your pain, but this one is very deadly. And what does Dhritarashtra say? Dhritarashtra says the same mantra which he always repeated his entire life. He said, Krishna, what can I do? My moha to my children and my shoka, losing them, has made me blinded. Lamentation and attachment. So therefore, it is explained that in the regular world, when a child is growing up, when the child becomes the toddler, one of the first word the child says, mine, mera, right? No, that is the first statement the child says. The child's world of mind is very innocent and very small. It's connected to mother, father, toys, little food. But that mind with resources and perversion creates a Dhritarashtra within us. The mind continues to stay, but it does not become evolved. I think last time we were discussing in Ramayana, when Janak Maharaj, when Sita, Lord Ram broke the bow, so Janak Maharaj became very happy and he spoke to Ram. He said, Mama Suta Dharmacharini Tava. He said, my dear Ram, he said, Mama Suta, my daughter will be your Dharma Charani Tava. Aapki patni banegi. She'll be your wife. So it is explained, this mind is very good because this mind, it is connected to Lakshmi, Krishna. Therefore, in Krishna and in Lakshmi, you also see the entire world. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the Vedic mantra, that the entire universe is my family. So this mind is very good, but the Dhritarashtra's mind was so small, so insignificant, that his mind was not allowing others' mind to exist. As long as my mind, I, me and mine, allows others, I, me and mine to exist, that kind of cooperative life is very welcome. But Dhritarashtra's mind was not only consuming others' mind, but consuming others also. Not only taking away the resources, but Dhritarashtra wanted to kill those who had the resources. So therefore, it's a very interesting phenomena. In fact, somebody said, the statistics says, I have not studied about India, but because Americans are very expert in making statistics, it is said that presently there are about 10 to 12% people having a personality disorder. Narcissist behavior. Just imagine 10 to 12% of your population having such a trouble, and they have limitless resources to destroy themselves and destroy others also. Every person having a gun in their hand. If the narcissism increases furthermore, then there will be Dhritarashtra's crushing so many Bhimas, innocent Bhimas. Therefore, this seminar, this talk, is basically understanding our own self. In fact, the characteristics of the Mahabharata are both historical and symbolical. The characteristics of Mahabharata, they represent certain concepts, certain idea, certain mental frame. Therefore, when we analyze Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Karna, Bhishma Dev, Gandhari, and Dronacharya, and ultimately Yudhishthir, it is not about we have no right to talk about them. in one sense. But we are talking about our own selves because Dhritarashtra is jumping, dancing within our own self. Karna is there, you know. Gandhari is there asking this question, why did you do this to me? Cursing God. Right. Bhishma is there, extremely good charactered. Intentions were great, but the seed what he planted was contrary to the intentions. Karna is there, always conscious of his self-esteem. Mera self ka kya hoga? So therefore all his characters, they are symbolic in regards to what they represent, and they are historical in regards to giving us an example what they represented in the history. Therefore it is explained, Mahabharata is not about what happened. Mahabharata is about what is happening now and here. Right. So therefore, it is not like Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is very sweet. It is meant for absorbing in Krishna Leela. Right. But Mahabharata is like life, where we are dealing on every day-to-day affairs. Dealing with people, dealing with things, dealing with management, dealing with governance, our own life, in our society, everywhere. Because life is designed like that. Therefore, Mahabharata doesn't talk about niceness. Mahabharata talks about fairness. In this world, it is very easy to be kind in deception. When you speak to people very sweetly, because in Kali Yuga, especially in the modern time, communication is given so much of importance, and there is so much of courses how to talk to people, how nice to people, how nice to be people. It is easy to become sweet talkers, speaking nicely to people, because you can use niceness to become unfair also. Therefore, niceness, please think about it. Niceness is many times very deceptive. But you can't fake fairness, because fairness is connected to statistics. It is very gross, it is very real. You can see it. Somebody tells you that I am giving you a cake, that is very nice. But I am giving the wheat farm to somebody else, which belongs to you. Cake is very sweet. But if somebody loses the cake at the cost of their very farm and saying that I am very nice to you, मैंने तुमको गाली नहीं दिया. But the point is, your niceness is not giving justice to me. Therefore, Vyasadeva in the Mahabharata is not poetic. He is very prose-centric. He does not allow so much imagination to flow in, because imagination takes one away from the realities of life. Therefore, somebody was saying that some of the literatures are very feminine in compilation. There is aesthetic sense, there is beauty, there is imagination, there is poetry. Valmiki Maharshi in many places, when he describes certain seasons, he describes so beautifully for long time. Mahabharata has that. But the focus of Mahabharata is all about fairness. It sounds tough. It sounds difficult. It sounds challenging. Therefore, if you ask people, what do you expect if there is a conflict between fairness and niceness? What do you want? You want niceness or you want fairness? Everybody will say, I don't care for niceness, be fair with me. So, Vyasadeva, when he compiled the Mahabharata, he focused more on the fairness rather than sweetness. Because sweetness can be deceptive. So, therefore, we will study, tears will not roll from your eyes, but blood will come from your eyes. No? because it's a reality of life. If 12% of an entire country, which is very advanced country, has a trouble with personality disorder, just imagine our country governed by people who want to govern, want to become prime ministers, huh? Controlled by some people who are controlling based upon this belongs to me because I belong to this family. So that disorder must be in the high level. But some other, because we are connected to some kind of spirituality, it does not appear in the forefront. But it is there. It's like a volcano which is hidden in the waters. When the eruption happens, then that eruption, what does it do? It creates such a disorder, and when there is a disorder, it is but natural. It is not possible to practice any kind of spirituality. When we will discuss about Gandhari, we will touch this point. Vyasdev glorifies Gandhari as exhibiting dharmashilata. Dharmashil. She was so dharmic, but in the conclusion of her life, it's only one character which curses Krishna. Of course, the curse does not apply to Krishna, but the point is she destroyed everything what she had by cursing Krishna. So we will study this character of Dhritarashtra, which is also part of our own existence. It's a self-analysis, not depression. Analyzing ourselves so that we can be empowered. Next. So, Rashtra for me, or I am for Rashtra. Ownership, as we discussed, Janak Maharaj said, my Sita. Janak Maharaj also said, my country. But in saying that my, there was no ownership, but there was affection. When a mother says, my child, it is not ownership, but it's an affection to extend her protection, her affection. She's willing to lay down her life to protect her baby because there is matritva. It is all right to say, my Rashtra. But in that my, if the ownership is there, instead of protecting it, instead of feeling affection towards it, it becomes controlling, using, abusing, and selling it. So Dhritarashtra had this mentality as against his ancestors. If you study in the Mahabharata, whether B.R. Chopra's or the original Mahabharata, how does it begin? The great king Dushyanta Maharaj, his son Bharat, after whose name this country was named after, he had a conflict of what to do with my sons. 9 of his sons become useless. They became totally useless to govern, and that was the time he went to his teacher, what should I do now? And his teacher told, look, you have such an affection for your Rashtra, but your 9 sons are useless. If you give the country in their hands, they will die and your country will also go. So you have to take a tough decision. The Bhagavatam explains that Dushyanta Maharaj's son Bharat had a great affection for his sons, but it was a question of the country. So उन्होंने क्या कर दिया? What did he do? He basically punished them with the death penalty. And got a qualified child as his adopted child, adoption kiya, and he coronated him as the king. So he became part of the kingdom rather than kingdom becoming his part. Rather than thinking that kingdom belongs to me, this Rashtra belongs to me, he thought I belong to the kingdom. So let us take some history of Dhritarashtra. Why this mentality of I, me, mine was so much involved, so much there in his in his mentality. Obsession. No kingdom, even in the previous yuga, had a very clean background, because part of this world is suffering. Suffering is not only connected to our personal karma. Sometimes people feel I am suffering because of my personal karma. Not necessarily true. It may be true, but there is a universal law. The life is designed, the universe is so designed that however good you are, suffering is part of life. Emergencies are part of life. Challenge is part of life. Good people coming in your life and bad people coming in your life is also part of your life. A long dynasty of the Bharat Kula having certain problematic people is also part of their Kula. To say that there was no trouble in my family is the biggest trouble. It's the biggest trouble, because it is not possible, it is not accepted as the reality. Therefore, the Bharat Kula, during the times of Shantanu Maharaj, had too many conflicting situations. When Shantanu married Ganga Devi first, the conditions were very, very precarious. Ganga told while marrying, whatever I do, you are not supposed to question me. See, if somebody marries like that, then you don't get a wife, you get a boss. Huh? Because marriage is not one-sided condition. It's a mutual. No. If one person puts all kinds of unreasonable condition and you accept, it is not possible that one will have a happy marriage. So whatever reason, the Daiva was there, Ganga came, she was cursed, she came down. And she said, no condition. The condition is that you are not asking anything to me. And every time the child was born, because she said, if you ask me anything, I will leave you. The man was so attached to her, he tolerated 7 times drowning his and her baby in the water. Can you imagine? फैन चालू और न चालू करने से झगड़ा हो जाता है, डिवोर्स हो जाता है. हाँ? People lack so much of patience. But this man was so attached and obsessed to his wife, he was willing to tolerate that condition for 7 years. Minimum 7 years. The inquisitiveness is so deep into our system, and as a king it is but natural for to question. राजा का एक सबसे बड़ा गुण क्या होना चाहिए? हर चीज को संशय करना. If a king does not doubt and he accepts everybody on the face value, then he loses to be the king. 7 साल तक सोचो, that was the beginning of an emergency, that you are tolerating something which is so unreasonable. And they're drowned. He doesn't know what's going to happen. At least you ask questions, but he knew, if I ask question, I'll lose her. And on the 8th child, because ultimately patience has a limitation. Patience is not a gantavya, it's not a destination, it's simply a journey. You can't stay on the path of patience for the rest of eternity. It is frustrating, it's depressing. It's a tool for some time. So on the 8th occasion, when the child was about to be drowned, what did Shantanu Maharaj do? He was shant. But he became so angry and upset, he stopped her. He said, what are you doing? She said, I am going now. And she explained who she was. And she said, I will take care of this baby and eventually come to you. So that was Bhishma Dev. So how was Bhishma Dev born? Bhishma Dev was born not in a typical situation where parents make a sankalp. If a child is born accidentally and always made to feel psychologically that we didn't want you, but you appealed to us. We may not speak those words, But according to the principle of Garbhadan Ayurveda, those thoughts remain in the background of the child, affecting its growth unless the child or the parents deal with it very systematically. So Bhishma Dev, eventually he had to arrange his father's marriage. We will discuss that. And the lady who came there, she also put a condition. And her conditions were also unreasonable. Of course, Shantanu did not accept it. He said, no, I can't marry. How can it be possible? When my son is grown up, Bhishma is qualified to be the king. But Satyavati's father told, you can marry my daughter if you agree that her son will be the king of Hastinapur. And how can you agree for that? Shantanu did not agree, but he was very attached to her. When Bhishmadev got to know, he got his father married by taking all that vows. I will not marry. I will not be the king of Hastinapur, but you get married to my father. This is not from a human perspective, from a natural perspective, this is not a correct marriage. This is not a right kind of marriage. So what happened? The children coming from them, Vichitra Virya and Chitrangada. Chitrangada was killed by a Gandharva because there was a brand problem. He thought, how can you take my name? I am also having a Chitrangada name. So he killed him. And Vichitra Virya, after the marriage, he had a Kshaya Roga. Kshaya Roga is the superficial explanation, but the real explanation which Vyasa very remotely gives, he became very sensual. And therefore he lost his Paurushatva. And therefore he died. And there was an emergency. Bhishma is there a capable personality to rule, but he has taken a vow that I will not be the king and I will not marry. And Hastinapur's kingdom is bereft of children who could take over. So then Satyavati came to Bhishma. Bhishma said, I can't because it's my vow. The purpose of the vow was to create stability during Shantanu's time. But now that vow became cause of further instability. But he stuck to his vow and he presented to Mother Satyavati, there is a facility for niyoga. Bringing some qualified person to procreate through these widow queens. That facility was there in Dwapar and Satya and Treta Yuga in emergency time, because the kshetra, the women's womb is called as the kshetra, and in that kshetra if a qualified person places his seed and the child continues to belong to that family only. Now if you want to know more about it, I have written in that book, Real Side, but we will not go into that. But the point is there was so much of emergency. So the queens agreed, and Mahabharata explains when Ambalika and Ambika agreed, they were expecting Bhishma or some other great personality to come. Right. So that they will have a great child also. But what happened? Their expectation was failed, and what they saw was Vyasdev coming in. When Ambalika saw Vyasdev coming, in fact, Vyas had told Satyavati, look, this is not correct. Let them prepare their consciousness by performing tapasya for some time. Let them make that sankalpa. But Satyavati was finding it was too late. Emergency. We have to meet the deadlines. Right. So then what happened? Vyasadeva said, it's your will, I go. And when he came in, Ambalika spontaneously, because her expectation failed, she closed her eyes during the time of procreation. And Vyasdev planted the seed. When he came out, Satyavati asked, what kind of child will be born? He said, he'll be learned in the Vedas. He'll be powerful, having the power of the thousands of elephants. Very qualified, but he'll be born blind. because your daughter-in-law was not wanting this to happen. It was undesirable and unexpected. So therefore, the question is raised, so what was the fault of Dhritarashtra? Why should he be blamed for the fault of the mother? Because of the mother, child had to go through this. Many time children, they blame the parents. Oh, because of you, I am like this. But we failed to recognize the mother was like that, and she invoked the very child who is supposed to be matching the mother's consciousness. Technically, the laws of nature are so precise, nothing happens by accident. The mother acted like that, therefore she invoked that kind of child. Dhritarashtra was in the stock of the material nature, waiting for some mother who desires not to conceive. And then what does the material nature do? Suddenly it has a special machine, she drops into the womb of the right personality. Therefore, Dhritarashtra deserved the womb of Satyavati, Ambalika, and Ambalika deserved this child. Certainly, even if that is the reality, there is no problem to express our sympathy. Because expressing sympathy is one of the sensitive quality of a human being, one who wants to evolve and grow. Next. But the problem is, when the sympathy is given, a sympathy cannot be given alone without empowering the child. A very simple understanding that when you give resources to those people who cannot handle, they become further reduced to nonsense. In the name of sympathy, if you give resources to someone who is not qualified, what happens? He is already not qualified, and you give him the resources, he becomes more nasty. And then when you are not liked by others, why there is a disorderness? Selfie is nothing but self-absorption. Actually, psychological, it has been proved. Few years ago, if you want to take a picture of yours and somebody else, you have to go to this photo studio or you have to buy a camera. It was a system. And before that, when the cameras were extremely rare, only owned by the shopkeepers in the studios, it was an occasion for you to go. It was a hard work. Only on the special occasion, when there is a marriage ceremony, or when you are getting your degree card, or when you are getting your Upanan Samskar, special occasion, you'll invite. So there was a facility for you to hide your obsession of your own self. But the modern technology has made it so easy to keep on expressing our own identity to everybody. It becomes difficult. So therefore, when you are disliked by others, somebody was asking me, why do people mourn for 12 to 13 days? Why in the Hindu society, in the Sanatan Dharma, if somebody dies, they say, "Arey, don't do this, 12 दिन के लिए आपको mourning करना चाहिए." It's a very, very interesting concept. Mourning is done because, our tendency to move very fast. When somebody dies, nowadays, when people leave their body, people come from the office to the cremation, and it is in the electrical fire. The body is burned within no time. You don't even get to see also. And you go back to the office same way. So you don't settle down. You don't settle down with mourning. Life is so fast, these emotions do not allow you to reflect the contribution of the personality who has passed away. Therefore, Vedic culture is so scientific, it tells us slow down. For next 12 days, you express your gratitude. You express your connection. You perform all the rituals which are desired by that living entity. And in this way, those 12 ways will create a lasting impact in regards to maintaining the relationship for the rest of your life. परंतु तेज में क्या हो जाता है? Recently one of our brahmachari was just 34-year-old in Goa, suddenly dropped dead. Life is moving on. No. Everybody is busy spreading Krishna consciousness. We have to save everybody. Right. So what happens? Within no time, he is forgotten and gone. Right. But if the concept which is presented in the scripture is followed, then the relationship remains for long. Therefore, the Shastras explain why the Devatas and the Supreme Lord takes rest during the Chaturmas. Very soon Chaturmas will come, month of June or July, where the Lord goes to take rest, which is called as Shayan Ekadashi. Until Uttapan Ekadashi, till the month of December, the Lord is resting for 4 to 6 months. Why does he do that? Very simple, because he is resting, he is asking, now you connect with your ancestors. उनके साथ में अपना संबंधों को बढ़ाने का प्रयास करो, हम आपको समय दे रहे हैं वो करने के लिए. So, but when that is not there, where Dhritarashtra became so self-absorbed, because in the back of your mind, you get to know that I was not wanted. So what does it do? You start liking your own self. It becomes an obsession. Self-empowerment is different from self-obsession. In empowerment, you grow. You grow along with the society. You grow along with your people around you. But in self-obsession, you don't grow. You become rotten. So we see that. It becomes obsession. Therefore, feeling sorry for an unwanted child is right. However, only sympathizing and not empowering, what does it do? Unwanted child sympathy without empowerment creates a dark future. And there is such an obsession for Dhritarashtra that when Vidura told Dhritarashtra, please disown this child, immediately after the birth of Duryodhana, he said, disown this child. If you disown this child, your other 99 sons will be protected. But he was not able to take that decision because he extended everything connected to himself. Next. So, another very interesting principle of Dhritarashtra's life, if we study repeatedly in the Mahabharata, also in the Bhagavatam, Krishna, after the death of Kamsa, sent a letter through Akrura to Dhritarashtra. That time Pandu was already gone. Pandavas were very small. They had come from the forest. The palace was not very much, they had not conditioned to themselves to the palace. When they received this letter, when Dhritarashtra received this letter, what did Krishna do? Krishna indirectly warned Dhritarashtra about the consequences of not treating properly the Pandavas. Because the news had spread everywhere. Kams ke saath kya hua tha? So Krishna indirectly gave the indication, next is your turn. And after receiving that letter from Akrura, what does Dhritarashtra do? Dhritarashtra speaks the will of God. If you read in the Bhagavatam, he talks about nothing is moving without the will of God. Jo kuch bhi ho raha hai, whatever is happening by the will of God. He talks about Daiva. One of the peculiar quality of Dhritarashtra is that whenever there is a conspiracy to kill the Pandavas, to take away their property, whenever there is a discussion about changing Duryodhana, what does he do? He always brings the concept of Daiva. No, it is already decided that, by the will of God, it has to be like this only. What can I do? He always takes shelter of Daiva for not changing. And whatever has been predicted to him and his next to his family member, what does he do? He tries to change it. And what was the daiva for him? The daiva for him was to abandon sin. What is sin? Sin means Duryodhan. The Bhagavatam explains Duryodhan is not papi, he is a papa. Antar hai bada. He is the source of sin. He is papa, he is not papi. He is not effect of Kali, but he is Kali himself. When a child is born as Papa Purusha and Kali, then first thing the Daiva was telling him, abandon the astrologers, the indications, the rishis, the sages, and Vidura actually spoke that their symbolic language to Dhritarashtra very clearly. He did not agree. He rejected the demand of Daiva. Second, Daiva also said, none of his sons will be ever king of Hastinapur. He said he can never be king himself. And it said, you always have to stay in second position. राजा नहीं बनेगा, लेकिन राज परिवार का रहेगा. But Dhritarashtra always denied these realities of life. Always denied. Next. And Purushartha. What is Purushartha? Purushartha is endeavor. It is not an exact word endeavor, but Purushartha is basically acting according to the psychophysical nature for developing your good qualities. धार्मिक बनने के लिए पुरुषार्थ का उपयोग करना चाहिए, but rather than that he was trying to undo Daiva, endeavoring for kingship and position and destroying the Pandavas. So what was the problem with Dhritarashtra? He was giving more emphasis to Purushartha for a negative reason. And he was denying Daiva again for a negative reason. So therefore what did he do? He said, I am born blind. He could have thought, his Daiva could have been born blind but in a royal family. It's empowering. कि मैं अंधा हूं लेकिन फिर भी एक राज्य परिवार में मेरा जन्म हुआ है. Just see, there are more people who are from a wealthy family suffering psychological problem than a poor family. Because a poor person doesn't worry about mind, he worries about belly. He has a problem of fulfilling his belly's need. You don't find 50, 60 years ago poverty-stricken families going to psychiatrist or a psychologist. ऐसा डॉक्टर का अस्तित्व होता है, उसकी जानकारी भी लोगों की नहीं थी. They didn't know. There is a doctor for that also. But now in every school, if you are called as a good school, you need to have a counselor. Right? That has become part. So therefore, why? Because when there is enough resources, there is a need for more and grumbling. Why this not for me? So born blind but in a royal family, he could have empowered. And as Purushartha becomes dharma-centric, there is clarity of where to place emphasis. कहाँ emphasis करना चाहिए? दैव के बारे में या पुरुषार्थ के बारे में? Where to give an emphasis? Which time to give emphasis on which thing? On पुरुषार्थ के ऊपर या दैव के ऊपर? But Dhritarashtra had an opposite effect. Whenever wrong happened, he said it is all Daiva. And whenever right indication was given to him, this is what meant for you, he fought against it. Dhritarashtra constantly fought against his blindness. He made blindness his entire life. Next. Instead of growing with his privileged background of royalty, his beliefs was rooted as born in a royalty but blind. Now the question is raised, somebody asked this question, if you talk about this Daiva philosophy, where is the question of ambition? Where is the question of growing and achieving? If you are a positive thinker, in the motivational speeches you hear, if we have the right spirit, what does it do? It attracts the positive energy and you can achieve anything and everything. The Mahabharata does not deny this. Mahabharata does not deny this. But what Mahabharata says, what Ramayana says, what Bhagavad says, everybody has certain capacity. Nobody is telling not to grow. Growing is different from acquiring a position. What people do, instead of growing, they work hard to acquire certain particular position. Growth is my responsibility, therefore the Purushartha is given. I need to grow. But growing is not synonymous to capturing certain position. Please try to understand. Becoming a doctor, if it is there in your Daiva, you work hard to become a doctor. But saying that I want to be doctor from particular medical college alone, that is you're trying to interfere into your future. I want to be a politician, that's okay. But I want to be a prime minister, that is not okay. Huh? Right. Because what position you acquire is not within your control, but what you become, that discovery is part of Purushartha, which Dhritarashtra always denied. He always fought for position instead of focusing on self-growth. Next. Position is certainly not in our hands. Growing is very much our responsibility. Growing is our responsibility, but what kind of responsible job we get is in God's hand. Please understand this. Most of the time we spend our energy in acquiring position instead of growing, and therefore we don't get right position also. Pandavas, for that matter Yudhishthir, Bhima and Arjuna, they were qualified. It was predicted. The only reason Kunti came back to Hastinapur not to enjoy the palace, because the children grew up in the forest. Pandavas grew up in the forest surrounded by the sages. Their life was going on very well. They got teaching also. They got all the sanskaras also. But when Pandu died, the sages told Kunti, my dear Kunti Devi, you have to go to Hastinapur, because these children are not meant to be living a happy and their own personal lives. उनका जीवन इसके लिए नहीं बना है, just to settle and be stable on the beaches of Australia. He said their life is not meant for that. Their life is meant for taking bigger responsibilities, because that is their destiny. Kunti said, but what will I do there if I go? It's because she's a daughter-in-law. She's not a daughter of that family. And she's widow now. And there already somebody has acquired the position, Dhritarashtra and his sons. And these sons have grown up. They're 14 years old, 14, 15-year-old. And they're 100 in number. To go there to acquire their position, it is not easy. It was not easy for the Pandavas to come to Hastinapur. It was a very difficult. The day when they came to Hastinapur, Dhritarashtra and this party, they conspired against the Pandavas, sending WhatsApp messages, Facebook, Twitters everywhere, saying that they are not actually sons of Pandu. It was spread everywhere. Pandu ke bacche nahi, Pandu ke bacche nahi, Pandu ke bacche nahi hai. Just imagine when you come inside the palace, in the forest, everyone was giving them so much of happiness to the Pandavas. The conflict of the duality in forest was very little for them. रात और दिन का duality, भूख और filling their belly was a duality. Very small duality. But coming to Hastinapur and experiencing the duality with their cousins who are willing to kill them, denying their very existence of being the sons of Kurukul. That is the first experience they had. Like sometime when people come back to India, hoping that I want to do great things in India. And what do they experience? Greater frustration. And what do they say? I came with the right intention, right spirit. मुझे कुछ अच्छा करना है, लेकिन कितने सारे बाधाएं आ रही है. Therefore, I think God does not want me to do anything. But here, very simple principle is that when you want to do something good, only those people experience greater obstacles. Those who want to retire, having a lot of resources, they continue to live a stable, equivalent to lazy life. But those who want to do something good, they cannot live. So therefore, the Pandavas had very clear understanding they are supposed to be the king, but they never fought for the kingship. They never fought. They only worked very hard to grow. Even in the forest, when they were thrown in the forest for 13 years, if you study Mahabharata, they did not spend their time only lamenting, crying, angry and upset. They did that also because that was part of their human system. But what they were doing? They were spending their time growing to such an extent they became so big in regards to their resources. But what did they ask from Dhritarashtra? Give us 5 villages. हमको राजा बनना नहीं है, 5 गांव दे दो, कहाँ 5 ग्राम पंचायत के चेयरमैन बनेंगे हम. Because that is our tendency, that is our nature. But Duryodhan was not willing to budge even for 5 villages. We will discuss that. Therefore, growing is our responsibility. Therefore, Daiva, if you study Daiva, Dishta, Kala, Vidhi, Dhatra, Vidhatra, Bhagya, Bhagyadeya, all these are different flavors of the same principle of Daiva. Next. Now, what is Daiva basically? Daiva, Karma. A lot of confusion people have about Karma. Today morning only I was discussing with Gaur Gopal Prabhu. Somebody said if you come to temple, if you worship God, if you chant, or if you do meditation, all your karmas get destroyed. Karmani nirdhati kintu da bhakti bhajam. Now, is it a reality? Does it happen instantly? So we'll discuss that. Markanda Rishi says, O king, this is Yudhishthira is asking question to Markanda Rishi. O king, some things come to people through fate, that is Daiva, some from chance, some from previous action. Hence, do not think about this anymore. कैसे होता है इसको समझने के लिए टाइम बिताना, trying to analyze why this happens, and by doing this I can overcome this. Spending time on this, it's nothing but wasting and investing at the wrong place. And Sanjay confirms the same. He's helplessly manipulated like a wooden puppet. Furthermore, some acts are caused by chance, some by God, and some by previous karma. And then next one, very interesting. After the battle was over, many people, Krishna knew very clearly, after the war is over, many people will ask this question, including Mahatma Gandhi ji, why war happened? And some said, Gita and the battle of Kurukshetra have no connection to each other. Very interesting. Try to understand. They disconnect Bhagavad Gita from the war of Kurukshetra. Because Gita is such a philosophical book. How can Gita ever talk about war? Gita is a book of philosophy. Therefore, there cannot be a war. Now Krishna, we will discuss that. Uttanga asked this question to Krishna. He said, Krishna, you are God, right? You are the Supreme Lord. Then why you did not stop this war from happening? You could have stopped this war. Now the very interesting answer Krishna gives. Yes, I am the soul of the soul. Yet I appear in various ways. When born as a Gandharva, act as Gandharva. When I am born with the Devatas, act as Devata. And when I am born amongst humans, I act as a human. I don't interfere. I only counsel them. So Uttanga Rishi was told by Krishna, I do not interfere. I counsel people. They have their free will to follow my advice or not to follow my advice. And the question is raised whether God actually interferes in changing our destiny. Right, this is the main question. Many times people come to spirituality hoping, if I come, my work will be done with the half of the cost and working as less as possible. And if you actually study carefully, superficial understanding of God consciousness is what? That you just say to God, you take care of me, and He takes care of you. You don't need to do anything. You hear this many times. अरे कुछ करने की आवश्यकता नहीं होती है, केवल हरे कृष्ण मंत्र का जप करो, सब हो जाएगा. Right. So what do we do? Consciously or unconsciously, we put the burden in the hands of God. And we become lazy. Somebody said, one of the greatest marketing people have done to the materialistic people, they sold a commodity named God. Very interesting. Some philosopher said, in the modern age, people have sold the commodity of God to the materialistic people. Because there is no other commodity is available for no cost and giving everything to you. Therefore, the philosophy of Daiva has been misused so many times. I want to do one seminar which is called as limitation of God. It's a very interesting concept. How can unlimited God be limited? We'll try to understand a little bit here. Next one. So, as I said, Daiva and Purushartha. Daiva, we'll come to that. Next one. So the next, wait, go before that. Previous one, yeah. No, next, yeah. Next, yeah. Keep it here. We'll discuss that more. Now, Dhritarashtra, through the story of our Bhima, trying to crush Bhima, we realize there is a conflicting consciousness. Sometimes people are very nice and along with it they are nasty also. One can exhibit this contradictory character at the same time, sweetness and nastiness. I think I've told this one book which was written by the Boston newspaper, which brought out this investigation journalism in regards to abuse in the church, child abuse. And one child who was grown up, when he was asked, what happened to you? The child said, I do not deny the affection given to me by the priest. He said, he drowned me with affection. I never experienced anywhere because I was an orphan. And he drowned me. But along with that affection which was drowning, there was also another side to him, that was limitless exploitation. He said, I could never come out of this conflicting situation. A limitless affection, genuine affection. But also, along with that affection, what was he doing? he was exploiting the child. He said, I went through such problem in my life. He said, I cannot deny that affection. Even after being abused for so many years, he can't say, I hate him completely. He said to them, he said, compared to his affection, the exploitation was much, much higher. The affection was there, but hate was higher. Exploitation was higher. Therefore, when someone loves somebody, that very love can give rise to hatred also. Wherever there is greatest dependence, when somebody loves you so much, wherever there is dependence, that very dependence also can give rise to great self-empowerment. When a child depends on the mother and father nicely, that very dependence becomes the nourishment of the child to grow beyond the parents to stand on their own feet. But sometimes that very dependence of the child on the parents makes the child to lose its very existence. The identity of the child is completely get lost. It's a very interesting concept. Therefore, here Dhritarashtra was extremely weak. You could change him back and forth. When Vidura would come and speak to Dhritarashtra, he would accept. What he said once? He told Sanjay or Vidura, he said, my dear Sanjay, you do not understand the power of Arjuna and Krishna. Because at one point of time, everybody is speaking about how many days they will take to conclude the war. Bhishma said, I will finish in 5 days. Dronacharya said, I will finish in 10 days. Karna said, I will finish in 5 or 2 days. But he got finished within 2 days. And then, when Dhritarashtra heard about this, Dhritarashtra said, you know what? How many days Arjuna will take to finish the war? He said, he tells this, I'll say in Hindi. He said, Krishna or Arjun साथ में आएंगे तो पलक मारते मारते हम समाप्त हो जाएंगे. We'll be finished with the blink of their eyes. But because they are acting as humans, they will take some time. Who is saying this? Dhritarashtra is saying this. He speaks the glories of Krishna and Arjun. He says, I know Krishna as Lord Narayan. I know Arjun as what? As Nar. But what can I do? Putra Moha, or my ambitions, make me repeatedly feel something else will happen other than what Daiva is saying. Very interesting. So, in the exhibition match, Dhritarashtra said something that went mainly unnoticed. Exhibition match, all the Pandavas were exhibiting great valor. So Dhritarashtra said, he said, I am very, very happy. Dhannosmi, anugrahosmi. He said, I am very gratified. I am very happy to see that I am protected by this 3 fire coming from the Arani of Kunti. Arani means wood. Kunti is compared to firewood. And from that firewood, 3 fires have come. Their name is Arjuna, Bhima, and Yudhishthir Maharaj. Now this sentence of Dhritarashtra, he spoke. But in speaking that, he was not glorifying the Pandavas. He was saying कि मेरा destruction निश्चित है. Conflicting, it takes, and therefore Mahabharata explained next. Mahabharata explained there are 3 components in Mahabharata in every verse. The first is Dhvani. What is Dhvani? Dhvani is that don't only read the verse. Don't read the verse's superficial meaning. Don't hear what Duryodhana is speaking, Dhritarashtra is speaking superficially. And second is Sahardaya. the sensitive reader or spectator reads beyond the verses of the Mahabharata. Durbhagyavash, unfortunately, when you see there are hundreds of people, if you just Google talk on Mahabharata, hundreds of people are speaking on Mahabharata. No, some only focusing on the isolated verses and some imagining based upon their own mental frame of mind. Many people say Vyasdev wrote Mahabharata favoring the Pandavas because they were the victor party, and creating such a speculative idea which has nothing to do what Vyasdev is trying to tell us. Therefore, Dhwani, suggestion meaning without saying, in the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, when Dhritarashtra asked this question to Sanjay, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samavevata Yutsava, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Kurvata Sanjaya. In psychological it is said, when people say something, you can guess what is their personality. I don't know that art. How do they say? What do they say? Why do they say? By what people speak, from that you can guess their personality. Like somebody said, the example of, I was quickly going to the office. So the word quick is analyzed by the psychologist. Why does he use that word? Why does he use that word quick? That means he's very time conscious. He doesn't like to go late to the office. Why he doesn't want to go late to the office? Because he's very much careful about his image. So with that word quick, they analyze your complete personality. So therefore be careful what you speak, where you speak, and how you speak. So here Dhritarashtra, when he makes this suggestion, nobody could understand why is he saying, how is he saying. When therefore he said to Sanjay, my dear Sanjay, what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra after being assembled there, my sons and the sons of Pandudu. And Prabhupada explains, there is ahankara and there is mamakara. I, me and mine. And separating the sons of the Pandus, and Sanjaya was a great sensitive reader. He could hear. And therefore, instead of answering that shloka in the very first chapter, what does he do? He narrates the entire Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra on the 10th day of the battlefield. Sanjay did not narrate Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra as Krishna speaking to Sanjay, as Krishna speaking to Arjun. After the death of Bhishma Deva, after the fall of Bhishma Deva, Sanjay came running to his master Dhritarashtra and he narrated everything what happened. He could have said in the very second verse only, अरे अभी तो मैं युद्ध भूमि से आया हूँ, मार काट चल रहा है, right? But he went on to speak so detail, and in the 700th verse, Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara. Because he was able to understand what is the feeling of Dhritarashtra. Why is he asking this question? Like, very interesting. I was talking to somebody. Why did Krishna speak to Arjuna that you are not this body, you are spirit soul? Why did Krishna bring the Atma Tattva Gyan in the Bhagavad Gita? Right. Was Arjuna not familiar with these concepts? Now, very interestingly, Bhagavad Gita is always spoken most of the time when people are dying or after they are dead. And especially what do? We read second chapter only. There is a special tune which people say, Dehi nosminyata dehe. Slowly read. The person has gone. The family members are sitting, mourning, reading 15th chapter, or somebody is about to die. People go right in front of their bed, reading Bhagavad Gita. That is the greatest tragedy of this country. That's the greatest tragedy of this country, because the verse Dehinosmin Yata Dehe was not spoken to Arjuna to remind him that you are not this body or spirit soul, therefore give up everything and go to the forest and become Lord Buddha. The second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when it is wrongly used, it gave rise to unnecessary vairagya in the heart of people. Unnecessary vairagya. क्या है जीवन का लाभ क्या है? When somebody dies, what is this? We say, अरे ये सब करने से क्या लाभ है? What is the point in working hard, working this, working that? But the purpose of Krishna speaking this verse to Arjuna, because Arjuna's consciousness had become dead. Not that he was dead. Arjuna's consciousness was dead. To revive his consciousness, Krishna was telling, what will happen other than you will die, right? What will happen other than you will die? Therefore, Arjuna, you are not this body or spirit soul. Therefore, engage in activity. Engage in action. The very purpose of speaking this verse to engage Arjuna in more work, because life is very short. Not retire from the work. Just imagine, Krishna says, you are not this body or spirit soul, therefore fight. And what happens when we say, you are not this body or spirit soul, therefore stop fighting? He said, what is nyaya? Justice is not important. Compassion is important. But do you have the capacity to be compassionate? Other day I was sharing with one professor, and he said, what to speak of that in one of the book, which is the Vaishnavas don't read, but it's a very interesting. Lord Ram was going through the same situation of Vairagya. The great leaders of Dharmic scripture are always reluctant to gain their rightful position. Very reluctant. Yudhishthir, Lord Ramachandra, Bharat, very reluctant. So therefore they have to be spoken. So Vashishta spoke to Lord Ramachandra the concept of the entire world being illusory. सब कुछ illusory है. All relationships are illusory. Husband, wife, children, country, family, property, prosperity, everything is illusion. So why did he say that? Yoga Vashishta. Vashishta spoke this to Lord Ramachandra. Whether he practiced Vaishnava philosophy or Advait philosophy, if the purpose is to stop action, then you are basically hijacking the main decision of Krishna. So he said that he spoke this to tell Ram, ultimately what do you have in your control? If everything is illusory, only thing what you have under control is your swadharma. ये स्वधर्म का पालन करो. Whether world is illusory or world is temporary, the conclusion of these two statements should lead us to for what? To lead us to perform action. Not to read Bhagavad Gita at the time of death alone. Ritual बन गया. पढ़ना चाहिए Bhagavad Gita while living also, and between living and dying. Only those who read and practice Bhagavad Gita throughout the life, they are entitled to hear Bhagavad Gita at the time of death. Because if you are dead and if you hear Bhagavad Gita, the complete statement does not happen. Because you are not this body or spirit soul, therefore you fight, because you are already dead. Therefore you have to come back to hear Bhagavad Gita. And tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yuddhacha. Fight keeping the Lord in the center. Therefore, it's very important that what Dhritarashtra speaks and what Dhritarashtra hears. We will discuss that also. What Dhvani is able to hear and how does he translate that. Therefore, very interesting. People ask this question always, why Drona, being a teacher of the Pandavas and Kurus, Pandavas became very good, but the Kurus did not become very good. When we study Dronacharya more elaborately on the day of a teacher with agenda, in fact, when Dhritarashtra got to know that Dronacharya is not teaching dharma, he said, very good. Let him only focus on teaching them skills. So Dronacharya only taught them skills. And it was Pandava's greatness along with the skill, they also learned the art of good samskaras because they were born with good samskaras. In fact, in this entire series, Dhritarashtra's birth is very unpredictable life. Bhishma's birth was like that. Dronacharya's birth was like that. And then Karna's birth was like that. Gandhari was born properly. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he was being born, Mother Kunti performed tapasya, sankalpa. There was a conscious choice to bring a child who was dharma personified. It was not accidental. Just imagine how much sanskaras are not values. In school we are taught values, not samskaras. Values are very, very PPT centric, textbook centric, exam centric, mark centric. You will have now recently in some of the engineering colleges also, they are choosing non-technical subject. Philosophy, dharma, morality. One may pass that exam about what is truth, what is dharma, 98%, because brain is good, but without having any samskaras. Therefore, expecting Dronacharya to give samskaras to the Kurus and Pandavas, that was not his forte, neither Dhritarashtra wanted that. He was happy that they don't get it. Right. So similarly, Dhwani, we are discussing Dhwani. Gandhari was extremely sensitive lady. Can you imagine? A daughter-in-law is coming to their home, first daughter-in-law, 100 Kurus and 5 Pandavas. And when Draupadi comes to their palace, what does Gandhari? She can't see, but she feels. She tells, my destruction has come. The destruction of my son has come. She says, take her to some other place immediately. No, samajh pai, utna sensitive usme tha, she was able to understand. Next. So, the fire of his devastation was blazing in the form of the growth of the Pandavas. So, he called Kanika, the terribly destructive and disruptive political advisor. Now, Dhritarashtra, as I said, he was fortunate to get direct instruction from Vyasdev. We get to read Vyasa's books, right? Vyasa's books with, after 5,000 years, so many commentaries we have. But here, Dhritarashtra had a direct association of Vyasadev coming regularly to instruct, advise, teach compassionately Dhritarashtra, and he would hear very carefully. Vidura was there, Sanjay was there. You don't find Dhritarashtra denying good instructions. In fact, Krishna told Dhritarashtra, my dear Dhritarashtra, you heard Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas. After he tried to kill Bhima, all that was there. But he would only hear. He would not implement. Listening without action is as good as not hearing only. Somebody said that when you have hundreds of books in your library, but you don't read, it is as good as you are being illiterate. Because you are not reading. So what would he do? He called this Kanika, unrest, 5,000 years ago. Kanika is from Afghanistan. He came And if you study the part of Kanika's advice to Dhritarashtra and his family, you'll find how politics function. And this person, what he spoke to Dhritarashtra, he taught him much greater concept of hypocritical behavior. He said, you should be so wicked, my dear Dhritarashtra, but apparently you will always look being very, very sweet. He said, you should kill your own family member if there is a need, and cry so much, lament so much. After the advice given by Kanika, feeding, poison, arson, gambling, all happened under Kanika's evil guidance. Dhritarashtra was actively using his Purushartha to destroy the Pandavas instead of focusing on his own growth. And we see this. Therefore, Dhritarashtra is basically sometimes becomes the consciousness of the entire country. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, there are millions of Dhritarashtra in everybody's home. And we need more Viduras who are constantly trying to enlighten Dhritarashtras. But the time when Dhritarashtra got enlightened, the cost was very, very high. He got enlightened eventually, but at what cost? Sometimes people ask this question, Dhritarashtra ko to perfection mil gaya na? After doing all this, ultimately got perfection, right? That is more important than what actually happened. What a selfish thought. If you get perfected spiritually also, but at the cost of causing havoc, for such a long time, do you choose such a perfection? Right? Therefore, somebody said, selfishness is what is very harmful, whether material or spiritually. Achieving perfection at the cost of being selfish for entire life, causing colossal destruction, is not worth of expecting such perfection. Unless you undo what you have done, if not in this lifetime, some other lifetime. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam purport, Vidura, being very compassionate brother, wanted Dhritarashtra to be enlightened, achieve perfection, but because he had performed such sinful activity, he did not achieve perfection. And he should not achieve perfection. If he achieves perfection after causing colossal destruction, that will undermine the character of God. It's a very interesting. So therefore, we see modern India is also burdened by disruptive politics. Why Mahabharata is relevant? As I said in the beginning, three things: absorbed spiritually, alert politically, and sensitive socially is a sign of perfect sadhaka. A sadhaka who is only self-absorbed spiritually or materially, he cannot do good to anybody else. His understanding of good is very, very narrow. Or those who are politically alert, they have no connection to spiritual absorption. If they become successful, they take all the credit. And if they become failure, they say, sab bakwas, everything is wrong. Politically does not only means national political situation. Political situation means also could be your family. In relationship, one of the challenging situation is that, so many joint family stories. In joint families, what people do? People assume that everything will go on very nicely for the rest of eternity. Somebody said, when you assume things, when you deal spontaneously, then that gives rise to chaotic condition. But when there is a discipline and systems, then there is a greater chances that a relationship can remain spontaneous and long-lasting. Systems are very important, and when the systems are not there, hoping कुछ अच्छा हो जाएगा, ऐसा अच्छा नहीं होता. Next. Another very interesting thing, Dhritarashtra told Vidura and Sanjay, I am called as Pradnya Chakshu. Now, what is Pradnya Chakshu? Pradnya Chakshu means one who has the insight, about the consequences of the action before the action is performed. Now, Dhritarashtra had this facility to have the insight before the action is performed. ये भगवान ने उसको बुद्धि दी थी. He is able to have the insight. In fact, one poetically it is explained, he had the eyesight for insight. Pradnya Chakshu, that is called as Pradnya Chakshu. That means even before you perform an action, for example, if you are investing in a company, no? So you have people like Bansidhar Prabhu is sitting, कौन से कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. So he has an insight for how the stock functions. You know, tomorrow's result, ऊपर जाएगा, नीचे आएगा, right? You have the insight. Just imagine people have insight for everything in regards to life. Most probably they will make less mistakes. I'm not saying that they will not make mistakes. They'll make less mistakes. Life is not about not making mistakes. Life is all about minimizing the impact of the mistakes what we make. So he had that insight. But what was the problem? The problem was insight was there, but action was not there according to the insight. There was a gap between insight and action that is nourished by some hope of his son's victory. He says, though Vidura successfully convinced Dhritarashtra about the ill effect of gambling, Duryodhana's threat again changed his mind, and along with that he had hope that the Devas will favor Duryodhana. Between the insight and action, there was a gap created because of the hope. जब क्रिया में और प्रज्ञा चक्षु में एक गलत आशा किरण खड़ा हो जाता है, उसका परिणाम क्या हो जाएगा? हमारा एक्शन बहुत कम हो जाता है, उसकी तीव्रता कम हो जाती है. द इंटेंसिटी इज वेरी लेस एंड वी स्टार्ट होपिंग. And just see, insight was there, but what was his mind saying? During the gambling match, he was sitting next to Shakuni and asked, did the Kurus win Draupadi? वो ऐसा मारता है, he's just hitting Shakuni and asking because he can't see. He's excited. The feeling is so surcharged. With the Kuru sitting there, he's asking question about his very daughter-in-law. It was his daughter-in-law. She was a queen and is asking this question, did Kurus win Draupadi? Height of wickedness. And therefore, insight and action had a big gap, and therefore, and along with that big gap, the action was always happening on the negative side of Purushartha. तो इसलिए was so shameless. Where do you think Arjuna developed despondency in the first chapter? Who planted that seed of lamentation? Dhritarashtra tells Sanjay to give message to the Pandavas when they have finished their 13 years of exile and incognito. You should read that message. It's a very interesting phenomena. Recently one politician said, it's very interesting. He said, we have lost Afghanistan, we have lost Pakistan, we have lost so many countries. That is the Hindu ethos, not to retaliate. Don't fight, because that is the Hindu ethos. अगर कोई आपको आक्रमण करता है, क्या होगा? जगह ही जाएगा ना. I quoted like Mahatma Gandhi ji wrote to Louis Pasteur a letter saying that do not retaliate against the Germans. Let them come and take your country, your land and your property. I teach you to fight with a greater weapon, the weapon of non-violence. Do not sell your soul for some mundane property. You can read that letter. And Louis Pasteur wrote back to him. He said, my dear sir, you are teaching us not to live, but to die. This is not the path of living, this is the path of dying. It sounds extremely idealistic. In fact, it is explained when you are an individual person, this philosophy is very elevating. But when you are part of a society, then you have to see from a society's perspective also. We will discuss this when we study Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir was extremely astute politically. He was able to handle personal relationship with Bhishma, Dronacharya, and he also was able to deal with them as a king in regards to making his position very strong. A very interesting things happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Along with the blessing, Yudhishthir was also looking for a strategy how to kill them. And what did he say? Dhritarashtra sent his message, my dear sons of Pandu, you are very good people and my sons are very bad. They will never change. But you should not become like them. By fighting, you will become responsible for this great war. Why do you want to do this? Fighting for a flesh like a dog fights. It is not good for you. All these years you have lived such a nice life, do not change. Can you imagine he sent this message to the Pandavas? Brilliant lecture. But uska dhwani suno kya uske piche? Now what is he trying to say? And he says, I prefer you to continue to live on begging because you have practiced how to beg. But don't beg in Hastinapur, because if you come and beg in Hastinapur, that will create unnecessary unrest among the citizens. Better you go and beg amongst the Vrishnis and the Yadavas. No? And that is called as what? That is called as, what others do to you, that is their problem, but you should not become like them. And Dhritarashtra was using this against the Pandavas. Their very quality he was trying to use against them. And if Krishna was not there, of course Bhima was there, if Krishna was not there, the Pandavas would have taken this philosophy as the philosophy of reality. And therefore in the first chapter of Arjuna, can you imagine Arjuna? He's telling Krishna, Krishna, api trailokya rajasyam. He said, I would not accept this entire three world if I have to fight against my own relatives, my dear Krishna. He said, bhiksham api avloke. He said, I will go and live on begging. भिक्षावृत्ति हमारे शास्त्रों में है. किसके लिए भिक्षावृत्ति बताई गई है? Who is supposed to beg? Only a Brahmana can beg. And why is supposed to beg? Not because only humility. Not only because of humility. Because begging entails freedom from any dependence. Because when you take a job, you have to accept the philosophy of your boss also. High command जो बोलेगा ना वो सुनना पड़ता है. Even though your heart is not agreeing. The theology, the philosophy, the psychology, the thought process is forced upon you. You can't openly speak all the time about what you believe. Therefore, a teacher never took a job. He lived on begging. Because begging entails what? Begging entails, I beg. If you don't want to give, I'm not going to plead from you. And even if you give, next day I will not come to your home. A beggar, a true beggar, it is explained, he would go to 5 homes. And if one home gives very nice prasad to them, they will not say, next day मैं आपके घर पे आऊँगा खाने के लिए. As a rule, they avoid that 5 home and go to the next 5 sets of home. So therefore, no people can control them. कोई ना कोई तो एक चावल थोड़ा सा रोटी दे देगा. And because of such independent life, they are independently expressing their thoughts to the people without any fear of losing anything, because they have nothing have to lose. because they don't want to lose the power of opinion making. देखो भिक्षावृत्ति के पीछे कितना बड़ा विज्ञान था, but what did we do? He said India is the land of beggars. Huh? Everybody is begging. In fact, if you study, when the Britishers started taking over the kingdoms, they took over the Mysore kingdom, they took over many kingdoms, they realized because we take them over, we control them, but we will not take complete control of their kingdom. We'll allow them to rule because they rule and we'll rule them. And one principle they said, he said, stop funding the educational institutions. Stop providing them food, stop providing them shelter, and stop providing them education. He said, we will give stipend only on one condition, there should not be dharmashalas free of cost. They knew, because these people who are provided by the king, they always remain the loyal citizen of that state. They will die for that state because they are taught, they are given values, they are given character. They stopped that. And instead what they did was that funding was made to use to build big palaces. You don't find, if you go to Hampi, you'll find big temples. You'll find public utility resources. But you don't find the palace of Krishna Deva Rai. They may had a big palace, but the palace was not built in such a way, it was competing the temple. If you go to any fort of Shivaji anywhere in Maharashtra, about 350 forts, I've been to almost like 25-30 forts, and you don't find a palace. Not even ruins. It's a very systematic. They wanted the kings to be extremely gratifying their senses. When you become absorbed in sense gratification, self-gratification, then you lose being sensitive to your society. You become desensitized. And one way they made the kings of India desensitized by introducing cricket. Very interesting. They introduced cricket. The very first people who got involved in playing cricket was not ordinary Indians. That was a royal people. Ranji Trophy. That is not the sign of pride of India, but that is a sign of slavery. Very systematically. ये बहुत बड़ा इतिहास है. No? So therefore we see that Dhritarashtra had become so desensitized in regards to Pandavas. He's telling them to beg. And Arjuna has taken that kind of mentality in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, I cease to fight. I don't want to fight on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. I live on begging. And therefore Krishna kind of, not exactly immediately, Krishna is asking, Arjun, where did these impurities have come upon you? It is a sign of Shandatva. In the Mahabharata, this word is also used. Klaibyam. Klaibyam means what? Uniqueness. And then where this has come about you? Shankaracharya writes in his Gita commentary about this. For a king, a royalty, itna parakram hai uske paas. If such a person talks about a begging, that is the greatest disservice. एक मराठा लाख मराठा रिजर्वेशन मांगता है. Huh? Just imagine he's saying that I want reservation. So when a qualified and competent person starts living on others' mercy, that is the destruction of his existence. And that's what Dhritarashtra wanted to do to the Pandavas. And again, Gandhari chastised her husband for his naivety regarding their son. She expressed they should have sent him to the forest. And even now they can still reject him. This was during the gambling match. But what does Dhritarashtra say? We're talking about insight and action next. He said, let the Kula be destroyed, as it is anyway inevitable for now. I can't stop my sons, let their will be done. Let the Pandavas return to gamble again. This was after the first gambling match when he was warned. When Vyasdev informed him of the massacre at Kurukshetra, future massacre, Dhritarashtra stupidly held hope that the sons of Pandu will die, while his sons will remain protected by Bhishma and Drona. He said, Jnati, vad hoga, mujhe acha nahi lagega. I will not like to see them dead. Vyasdev said, not them, your sons. But there was a hope. During the peace Sabha, when everything failed, Vyasa requested and chastised Dhritarashtra. You have the power to stop the war. Give the right instruction to your son and stop death of your family members in the name of Dharma. And what does Dhritarashtra say? Go next. I am also aware of what you say, but I have this attachment to my sons. I am doing what society does, and they anyway will not listen to me. He said, I am part of this world. Every human being acts normally, thinks about his self-interest. So I'm acting like that. So therefore, why are you stopping me? And anyway, they don't listen to me. O son of Suta, listen to what I know. Just as I know it, for after hearing my words which are truly informed with wisdom, you will know that I possess the eyesight of insight. But what is the point? Next. Hope against insight leaves him inactive. This is the psychology of a failing student. I was sharing with these children also. If you attempted only 40% of your paper, but you are a pious person who go to temple regularly, Siddhi Vinayak, Siddhi Jagannath, right? And what is the assumption? And this is one of the diseases of Indians. Of course, everybody all over. What is it? Bhagwan kuch na kuch kar dega. Something will happen. Right? I know I have done only 40%, but I go to Ganesh temple every day. Kuch na kuch ho jayega. Unless that examiner is lazy and crazy, by his own mistakes, accidentally he makes you pass. That is not Ganesh's doing. That is, the flawed system of a wrong people testing your paper. And if we choose that as made by Ganesh, that increases our inefficiency in the future. No scripture in the Vedanta, in any scripture, allows this concept. Very clear, doesn't allow. It talks about Daiva. Kripacharya told, during the one meeting, he said, my dear children, he said, Daiva is never independent of endeavor. And endeavor is never independent of Daiva. एक दूसरे को पूरक है. They are not independent of each other. If I attempt 40%, if the checking is very precise, I will only get 38 marks. दो भी जाएगा ना उसमें. Right. If I get 90 for attempting 40, either I've purchased people or the teacher has done something mistakes. No law in this world, whether you are smoking cigarette, whether you are lighting an incense to a temple deity, or you are cooking in the kitchen, if you are neglectful of the fire, the law of nature is fire will burn you. Therefore, when Krishna told Uttanga Rishi, I don't interfere, that gives rise to our Purushartha. The transformation of civilization does not happen by waiting for God to do something. Transformation can only happen by praying to God to give us the courage to get into action. And that is what Krishna was allowing the Pandavas to do. You don't see Krishna all the time. When he was actually there, personally present, One may say, why Draupadi? Can you imagine? Draupadi was a devotee of Krishna. You may say Gandhari was not practicing such a devotional service. She was still attached to her sons. And she lost her son, and Draupadi also lost her sons. Why her very best friend, Draupadi, calls Krishna as her friend, and Krishna accepts that. We call Krishna your devotee, but he has to accept. We calling ourselves a devotee is good, it is good. But the other side, like somebody said, one beggar from Dadar station, he was telling his friend, I'm marrying the daughter of certain king's daughter in Gujarat. He said, really? पक्का हो गया 50% पक्का हो गया because मैंने decide किया हुआ है 50% agreed because I have decided. Yes, that 50% is also required, but unless she agrees, the marriage is not done, right? So therefore, declaring ourselves as the devotee is one thing, but he recognizing you is most important. When does he recognize you? When he sees that you are also playing your part clearly. And Draupadi had to play that part. And it was not easy. She got the glimpse, an idea that this sacrifice is too much. It was not a revenge. It was a justice on behalf of the entire womanhood, for the entire Hastinapur, पूरे देश के स्त्रियों की ओर से उसको प्रतिनिधित्व करना था, but it did not happen without paying the price. And what was the price? Sacrificing all her children. And people say, अरे लाइन पे खड़ा होना पड़ता है, and they want change. Can you? This is the mentality of Indians. We have become actually controlled by Dhritarashtra consciousness. Daiva should everything for me, but my Purushartha, I will stand in line for watching Bahubali movie. I will stand in line for IPL match. Other day I was flying to Hyderabad and one devotee was sitting next to me and said, Prabhuji, other day I was supposed to come to Bombay for my work, but the tickets were skyrocketing 15,000, 20,000. I said, why? Because people are coming to watch IPL match. उसके लिए price बढ़ गया था. And I always say, when Krishna came to this material world, he didn't tell the devatas, you enjoy watching, sitting in the spectator room, and ताली बजाते रहो, मैं एक राक्षस को मारने के बाद ताली बजाओ, cheer crowd बनाओ. He said, everyone has to come along with me. All the devatas came along with Krishna. All the devatas came along with Lord Ramachandra. And some of the devatas in Ramachandra's time, they have to act as kapi. जंगल में रहना पड़ा उनको बाल के साथ. They didn't say, hey, come on, हमारा अमृत मिस हो जाएगा. अरे सूखे फल से जीना पड़ेगा आपको. So nowhere in the Vedic literature the superhero concept is presented. Hero is also connected with hundreds of foot soldiers. Then the victory happens. This is the modern context where God does everything. I don't need to do anything. Dhritarashtra was filled with such consciousness. This is the psychology of a failing student. A failing civilization always hopes for miracle on the Twitter and the Facebook. But the real civilization like the Pandavas, now you can't beat the Pandavas situation. They were in the forest with nothing, absolutely nothing. But they came down to fight and perform their duty. So what was the psychology of Dhritarashtra? Always hoping that some miracle will happen. And that is the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore they seek sympathy, stories of miracles, and therefore miracle stories are always sell very high. Right? If you start telling, I want to tell you miracle stories, large number of people will come. Narsinghdev stories, Prabhupada stories, Krishna stories. Because what do we feel? What do we think that these miracles also will happen with us? Therefore the scripture in one sense they say, when you expect miracle, you will have nightmares. If you expect miracles, you'll have only nightmares. Live life in such a way that you'll experience miracle. बहुत बड़ा अंतर है एक्सपेक्टेशन करने में और एक्सपीरियंस करने में. And Draupadi, after she lost all her sons, in one sense, she understood the difference between knowing losing the son and experiencing the loss of sons. And फिर भी, still she did not say why this happened to me. Because she was willing to pay the price for justice. Justice के लिए प्राइस देना पड़ता है. And Dhritarashtra therefore did not experience miracle but nightmares. The laws of nature acted precisely. Next. I think more important things are there. When I had told, I will not stop because today is Dhritarashtra, because Dhritarashtra is eternal. Not only for 1.5 hours. But we'll conclude with this. There are more slides about Dhritarashtra's vicious circle of behavior. With his birth and even after the death of his sons, 3 different people give him 3 different advices. Sanjay, Vidura and Vyasadeva. We'll discuss that. But we'll conclude with this. Deep regret after the event. Therefore, the Mahabharata begins, in one sense, in the very first chapter, the regrets of Dhritarashtra. Who suffered the most in Mahabharata? Dhritarashtra suffered the most. And who is responsible for it? That is what? Victim of suffering is also the agent of suffering. ये बहुत painful होता है सुनने के लिए. When you realize that you are the victim of suffering because you're also the agent of suffering, that is the seed of empowerment happens. Otherwise, we always look for endorsement, support from outside source, and that does not help us to grow. So there is a victim of suffering, there is an agent of suffering, and there is a passive witness to suffering, and advisor against the grief. Dhritarashtra does that. He is party, he is the act, he is the consequences, he is the agent, he is the victim, and then he is the cause of the events and the consequences of the event. Agent and victim of suffering are the same. Unless we understand, therefore, birth of Dhritarashtra is not the problem of Ambalika alone. She suffered her act. But the person whom she invoked, Dhritarashtra, was also responsible for what he was going through. But he never wanted empowerment. He always wanted sympathy. And sympathies are like drugs. As much as we receive sympathy, that much we become incapacitated. Our mind, our intellect, our senses always look for crutches more and more, more and more, more and more. It is like a thyroid medicine. You begin with half a tablet when the thyroid comes to you. 25 ml का आधा tablet लो. But as you grow older, if you continue the allopathic medicine, what happens? 25 का पूरा tablet. बाद में 37.5, बाद में 50, बाद में 55, बाद में 75, बाद में 100. When you take painkiller, the dose of painkiller has to be increased more and more, more and more. If you become a drug addict, the dose have to be increased more and more. So sympathy is the greatest drug which every living entity desires more than empowerment. And therefore the Dhritarashtras never learn their lesson even after losing all of their sons. But yes, at some point of time, there is no other choice than to be empowered, if not voluntarily, by force. So Dhritarashtra had to empower himself by force after causing limitless trouble, and those some points we will discuss tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
RG Media YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe.